What's up? Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. Thank you. What I'm doing today is a Transformers Legacy wishlist of characters that I would love to see in the line. First off, we have Transformers Armada Sideways. This is a character that I really like. It's a design that I really like, and I would love to see the 3 different heads of that character incorporated into this figure. I know, looking at Hotshot for example, and also Starscream, it does make me sort of question what they would do with this character if they were to include him in the line, particularly because he featured mini-cons that combine together to be a rider. I think with the budget cuts that you're seeing here, I think that could be a big problem for this character. I do think that you could possibly see this character get the mini-con rider that's split into 2 different pieces. That could be 2 different heads. That could be maybe a Voyager price point. It wouldn't shock me if Hasbro tried to bump that up to be a leader, but I would assume that this would be a Voyager price point to get everything done correctly for this character. So are people going to be willing to pay Voyager prices for a motorcycle? I'm not quite sure on that. I actually don't think they would. Looking at what's gone on with Starscream and Hotshot and the lack of mini-cons with them, obviously a deluxe price point isn't good. And even at the Voyager price point, Starscream still didn't come with his mini-con. Next up, we have Transformers Robots in the Skies Scowl. This is a character that is one of those forgotten Dinobots in that series. This is a character that has, in my opinion, really burst onto the scene when he came onto it and made a very interesting impact because he was a Dinobot, but he was a Decepticon. Obviously, when you look at the character of Grimlock that was in the show, Grimlock was really goofy, but how cool would this character be if he was introduced in the Legacy line and he could face off against our current Dinobots? You could give him a new paint job. Obviously, you could actually do this character twice. I suppose you could do him in his Robots in the Skies paint job, and then you could also do him then in a G1 paint job that could be very much so a good contrast towards the G1 Dinobots and him having a Decepticon symbol. I actually think that'd probably be quite nice. Next up here we have a G105 Heatwave. The rescue bots in their entirety I think would be absolutely fantastic in Transformers Legacy, and I'm sure that the team are on this when it comes to rescue bots. They know that some of the rescue bots fans are growing older now and that they will want more difficult versions of these characters to transform. I think this is fantastic. This is fan artwork, by the way. This is something that someone cooked up. I love the fact that there's 2 hydro blasters on each arm. I think that is something that should be incorporated 100% if Hasbro were to do an official attempt. The artist's name is over here. Obviously I can't pronounce it, but if Hasbro were to do this, I'm sure and I would hope that they would give this guy a bit of a heads up and maybe even incorporate him then in the design of Heatwave in the Legacy line. I think this looks fantastic. I absolutely love the fact that the character still retains that fireman's helmet there on top of the head. I think this looks absolutely wonderful. Moving on, next there we have Nova Prime. This is a character that I'm very shocked hasn't come already. However, when I look at the legs here even themselves, I can see what they've done recently with this, as they call it, Holiday Optimus Prime. Everybody knows what that is. That's Christmas Optimus Prime. And the legs are very similar to this. I'm shocked that Hasbro haven't delved deeper into the primes in their entirety in the lines that they've done beforehand, but Legacy would be a good opportunity to do that. You've got so many primes that are out there. You could even create primes if you wanted and put them in there, but Nova Prime being a big player in the IDW universe, and with Tarn already being introduced into the Transformers Legacy line and getting rave reviews already, I'm sure introducing Nova Prime in there as a predecessor to Optimus Prime, and then of course then you can do the repaint of this character as Nemesis Prime, so you get 2 out of the 1 mold, and Hasbro love to do those repaints. I think this would be a fantastic addition to the line. Leader price point, I would say, probably with that. Maybe Commander if you were looking for everything to be done correctly. Hasbro have already sort of done this with the Hunt for Decepticons line that they've done beforehand, and this is one of the images from that, and this is of Lockdown. Now Lockdown's a very popular character amongst Transformers fans. He first appeared in Transformers Animated, and with Animated now making its way into the Legacy line with Prowl and Optimus Prime and a couple of other rumours that are out there, Lockdown has to be someone that's an absolute surefire hit into the line that would be well received amongst fans. This guy is a character that people really like from the animated days, so much so that he was the actual villain of Age of Extinction. So yeah, I think this character would fit in quite well. The way he uses different parts as well could very much so link in with the weaponizer gimmick that Hasbro have incorporated over the last couple of years and have updated it now to these kind of Mad Max looking Junkions. Are Hasbro preparing to enter lockdown into the line as a former Junkion? Maybe. We'll have to see how things go from there. This is a character in animated, by the way, that had a blackout symbol that was very much so reminiscent of the original toys, because this is a character that was supposedly formerly an Autobot and covered that up. I think this is a character that I would love to see in the line. Next up here is Transformers Armada Blur. I've nothing else to say other than I really like the character. I like the design. I think it looks really cool. Blur is someone that they've looked at for the last few years in the Studio Series line. They've also looked at IDW Blur, and I think it makes perfect sense then for Armada Blur to be brought into the line, because Armada characters are popular. Be nice to fill out that roster there, and Blur here to me always looked really cool. This kind of sniper rifle-esque version of the character with a cool kind of Clint Eastwood voice really spoke to me. I really like this character and like the design as well. Next up here, again, credit here to this artist here. I don't know who the artist is, but they've decided to make a G105 version of Scorn in this line, and I think this would be fantastic to see. Again, this is someone I would love to see Hasbro collaborate with, and I'm sure maybe the fact that they own Scorn themselves, this is probably something that they've looked into. Have you noticed the team here? I really like the Dinobots, and especially because they've already done Grimlock, they've already done Sludge, and they've already done Slug. I know what else he's called in the UK, but they're not using that name anymore, and they're planning on doing Swoop and Snarl. They're going to run out of Dinobots eventually, so they do need to look at some of the newer additions. I do think Scorn would work really, really well. Given the fact that this is a character that turns into a Spinosaurus, I think it would be really easy for them to do. You could even do a partial, I suppose, off of Grimlock. I'm giving them ideas here, free ideas, I'm supposing, for a multi-billion-dollar company. But anyway, it's a character that I would love to see in the line. And like I said earlier on about Heatwave, I would hope that Hasbro would work with the artist, and maybe if they're not going to do that and they might change her up a little bit, maybe they give some credit that way. But I've heard some very strange things about certain artists not getting credits on certain things from the company. Next up here is Gettr Prime. You will also know another bit of a thing that I'm into here is obviously the Primes. Primes are something that I find very interesting. Gettr Prime is one of those that has become a very important character in Transformers Cybertron, and then became an important character in the magazines when he was responding to fans. Now obviously not the character, but people were posing as Gettr Prime. Good idea all in all. But this character, being a time-travelling character, could work really well in the storytelling aspect of Legacy. They've already done Cybertron characters already in Metroplex. They've done a Galaxy Optimus Prime that I'm sure that they'll repaint without the battle damage and put it back into the line. And they've already done what was called Nitro Convoy in Japan, but is called Override here in the West. They've already done that character there. So to me, Gettr Prime is an absolute shoe-in to come up in the line at some stage. Next up here is Flatline. This is a character that appeared in the Michael Bay universe in the comics, and I love this character. This character is the opposite of Ratchet. This is a character that transforms into a hearse. This would be one of the coolest Transformers that they could do, and if they G105'd this, I would absolutely love it too. I think it'd look wonderful. I know there's a couple of images that are out there that have a very akin to a Ratchet-like character. I think the colour is like even a lime green that sort of rips off the movie universe, but it still has a G105 look with a monocle on one of the eyes. I think that would even look cool. But Flatline, to me, a black hearse would be unreal, and I think that's something that they could introduce into the line. Is it possible that they could do it? Sure, I think it is. I think I was talking recently with one of the designers, and they said that if they used a partial of Trailbreaker, that they could probably do Flatline, and they seemed interested in it. So I would like to see it, but I know as well some people would say, well, a hearse is very morbid, isn't it? I mean, aren't some other vehicles? Do you know what I mean? I would love to see this character in the line. I think it's just so different, and the fact that you could face him off against Ratchet would be cool. The last character I would love to see, and harkening back to what I was saying earlier on about loving the Primes, is G1 Sentinel Prime. Now there's multiple Sentinel Primes that are out there. You've got the one from the War for Cybertron games. You've got the Transformers animated Sentinel Prime, and I do think that the Sentinel Prime name is going to be used more over the next couple of years. I really do, because the last iteration of that character that we've gotten, if I'm not mistaken, is from the Studio series, and they like to keep their trademarks, they like to keep their names, and like to keep recycling them. So I do think that we will probably get a Transformers animated Sentinel Prime quicker than we will a G1 version of Sentinel Prime, which I'm alright with, because if it turns into the Snowplow, that's going to be very interesting to look at, and I'm sure that they'll probably repurpose that as a Transformers animated Earth Ironhide, which was the plan, I think, ultimately from Transformers animated, and certainly I think they were using it as a base. Maybe they would have done an all new figure for Ironhide in that cancelled season, but I would love to see a G1 version of Sentinel Prime. There's another version of him too that I think would wonderfully work well in the Commander class, and that's the IDW version of Sentinel Prime. Basically, he is a robot that's quite large, but he suits up in sort of like a Hulk Buster Iron Man armor, which to me is a wonderful idea, and he has more orange across the body rather than the kind of, I suppose, bluish, greyish, purplish that he has here now on his body. So again, they could use that Sentinel Prime from G1, they could use the Sentinel Prime from IDW G1, they could use the Transformers animated Sentinel Prime, so they have the ability to use that name again and again. And I'm sure with upcoming programs and TV series and movies and games and whatever they have in the works, they would like to keep that trademark and that name going. So that's my wish list of characters that I would love to see in Legacy. Let me know who's in your wish list down below in the comments. What do you think of my wish list? Is there anyone there that you would love to see yourself? Or is there someone that has been included in this list that you've never thought of before and you're saying, yeah, I'd absolutely love to see that? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below as part of the channel. And talk to you later. Good luck.